now tuned in.
You are now tuned into
the realest show on YouTube with your host, the Angryman.
What's good? What's going on, everybody? We back in the building. Y'all already know how we doing. Y'all already know what it is. Y'all already know how it's going down. You feel what I'm saying? We got a lot to talk about. We got to talk about Trump and how they tried to ambush him with a bunch of race baiting questions, and he cooked up. I said, let him cook. He cooked up on them. We got to talk about Meg Thee Stallion and how her and every last one of you folks that support Kamala Harris just set black folks back 300 years. 300 years. You literally just set black folks back 300 years. And I don't care what nobody say. You can sit back and you can try to pretend like that ain't what it is, but we know that's what it is. We know that's what it is. You set us back with that goofiness, right? But before we get into any of that, plus I want to show you some of the reactions of black folk, because it appears that black folk are actually waking up to this foolishness, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to show this first video. Now, I'm going to keep it real with you. This video doesn't really have anything to do with Meg Thee Stallion or Trump, right? But it's a video where Chaotic Truth, and I don't know how many of y'all know who Chaotic Truth is, but he's what I would call he's kind of like a BINO, right? He's kind of like a BINO. He has a BINO's mentality, right? So he did a video the other day because he had a back and forth with Jay Prince for president, if y'all know who that is. Because I've had a back and forth with that, right? But Chaotic Truth said he had to go into nigga mode. How many of y'all heard me explain what nigga mode is? Shout out to Buddha TT boy. Said Trump is nods, pure and simple. How many of y'all heard me break down what nigga mode is? How every once in a while you got to go into nigga mode. I was having a discussion on somebody's panel. What panel was it? I think it might have been Izzy Band's panel. And I basically was breaking down the fact that the reason why a lot of these rappers have been able to team up on Drake is because Drake doesn't really know how to go into nigga mode. He doesn't know how to activate nigga mode. You feel what I'm saying? I gave a couple of examples. Of how, but keep in mind, nigga mode is kind of like the Avatar state. Any of you that ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? When he goes into the Avatar state, it makes him very powerful, but it also makes him extremely vulnerable, right? Because he's kind of zoning out, like his eyes is white and he's like, he's zoning out, right? So if somebody were to attack him in the Avatar state, it would be devastating, right? That's kind of the way nigga mode is. If you go into nigga mode, it makes you extremely powerful, but you're not thinking rationally when you're in nigga mode. So somebody could attack you while you're in nigga mode, and you're going to be massively vulnerable. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you ever see somebody where some dude is arguing with the dude, and the dude finally gets fed up and he activates nigga mode. He's like, nigga, you don't tell me nothing, da, da, da. And then when his homeboys punches him from his peripheral, but he can't see. His peripheral is not activated because he's in nigga mode. And boom, he gets knocked out. That's what I'm talking about. Nigga mode is dangerous on both sides. You can activate it and it will help you, but if you do it wrong, you gonna be in trouble. Two examples I gave of nigga mode is there's a story 50 Cent, tells in his book about how he got into an argument with some dude and they went out. He asked him, he said, "You want to step outside?" And they stepped outside getting ready to box. And one dude tried to get in the middle of it and 50 slapped him for trying to interfere with the fight, right? That's nigga mode, right? Another example of nigga mode going bad is I know this dude that slammed a police officer, right? Negroes were hanging out, drinking or whatever. The police rolled up and you can't be drunk in public, right? So the cops hopped out. One of the cops walked up to the dude. As soon as he walked up to the dude picked him up and slammed the cop in the bushes, right? After he slammed him, now he activated nigga mode when he slammed the cop. Because I'm talking about he picked him up over his head and slammed him, right? So he activated nigga mode. He had to in order to get that amount of strength to pull him over his head, right? But when he slammed him, he went to run. And by the time he turned to run, the officer hit him with a taser. And he was... Nigga mode went wrong. You feel what I'm saying? So Chaotic Truth does an awesome job of explaining what nigga mode is. And I believe that the thing that gives you the ability to go in nigga mode also contributes to your poor judgment. And I'm going to tie this into why I keep seeing chocolate black people endorsing Kamala Harris. Especially the chocolate celebrity black people endorsing Kamala Harris, right? Watch this. Shout out to Michelle. Michelle said, "My kids used to do it to me. I didn't cuss around my kids, but sometimes they didn't understand shit I would say until I went into nigga mode." Yeah. Oh yeah. Some of the best of us have went into nigga mode, right? So you got to realize some of us are able to go into a higher level of nigga mode. You feel me? So let's play this clip real quick. Watch this.
This DNA nucleotide, this being real form today. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to be in rare form today. Hold on for a second.
And by the way, I hope Chaotic Truth doesn't mind me playing this video. I gotta play it. Y'all gotta hear this. This is crazy.
My fault, guys. I'm just texting. I'm about to kick in the backs of niggas today. Kicking the backs of niggas today. And I really believe it's needed. I'm going to tell you why. Before I get to the main topic, which I'm going to get to really quick, I'm going to send shots out to everybody, salute to everybody. Positivity is definitely coming your way. I'm going to be in nigga mode today. And to my white audience, you may not know what that is. But every now and then, even a sophisticated and superior black man such as myself goes into what we call nigga mode. Salute to you, Penelope. Says, "Happy white boy summer," which is almost over. Chaotic, what is nigger mode? Well, I'll tell you. At the subatomic level of every black person exists what I call NNA, Nancy Alpha, which is nigga nucleic acid at the subatomic level. And at this level, this DNA nucleotide, this compound, this microscopic compound of information. There's an input and output of aggression, anger, self-accountability, lack of accountability, etc. Some of us have a lot of it, some of us don't. Now, somebody will call in today and say, what about white people? What about Asian people? I don't know about Asian or white. I'm not their ethnic group, god damn it. I'm black. And we are different at the subatomic level. Let's just be completely honest about it. We are all humans, but we are different. Look at my hair. Look at this. Look at it. Look at my hair. I'm about to be in crazy mode today. Because I got into it with a nigga last night. I'm gonna get into that in a minute. Let me go back to the science of all of this. Bob says, DMV, your videos are all fire. At the subatomic level, again, guys, exists nigga nucleic acid. And again, this compound, this nucleotide, is packed with violence. It's packed with aggression. It's packed with illogical electrons.
Now, look, we know he's being facetious. We know he's joking. But it's so accurate. Shout out to Deborah. It's so accurate. It's so accurate, bruh. It's accurate. Shout out to Amir. Appreciate the membership. It's so accurate. Nigga nucleic acid filled with violent electron, bruh.
And again, some of us have a lot of it and some of us don't. The difference between me and a George Floyd is George Floyd had higher levels of nigga nucleic acid, whereas I have lower levels of it.
Now, look, I'm going to tell you why this explanation is so awesome to me, right? Because similar to the late, great David Carroll, especially every 4 years, every time an election cycle comes around, we see an abundance of ignorant niggas come out the woodwork. It never fails. Every 4 years, every election cycle. Right? Shout out to UT Now, said accurate all the way to the white meat. Every 4 years, every 4 years, we see a concentration of ignorant nigga shit, right? It happens throughout all the year and, in normal times or whatever, you come across it, but never as much as when it's time to vote for a president. This is the moment where you see niggas get separated from black people. This is when you see it. Every election cycle, right? So like the late, great David Carroll, ignorant nigga behavior has always confused me. It has always bothered me. It never made sense to me. Because I don't operate in that energy. I just don't. I can tap into it, but I don't. That's not my regular setting. That's not my normal modus operandi, right? So just like David Carroll, I decided to put niggas and black folk under the microscope to try to understand why this culture does some of the stuff that it does. Now, I've had conversations with Grinch, and you know what I said to Grinch? I said, is it possible that some of us, because if you know the real history of America, you'll know that not everybody of a melanated complexion comes from slaves. There were some melanated people that were most certainly enslaved, and there was a portion of melanated people that were not enslaved. This is just a fact. Not everybody that looked black were slaves back in the day. See, we've been fed the lie that everybody that's black or African American used to be slaves. This is why a lot of people had a problem with the ADOS designation, American descendants of slaves. Some people were offended because they're like, man, everybody won't descended from slaves. What the hell is wrong with y'all? So my theory is this. My theory is when you sit back and you watch these Negroes continuing to vote for the Democrats, who have absolutely no intention of doing anything for them for their vote. I mean, they fall for the okie doke every year. Every year, the Democrats are like Lucy with that football, and niggas are like Charlie Brown. They think they're going to get to kick that football every 4 years. And every 4 years, they get that football snatched away from them, and they go to kick the football, and when it gets snatched, they flip up in the air, arg, and land on their damn back. Right? So I said to Grinch, I said, man, is this possible? And I know this is taboo to say. I know there's so many people that's going to be offended by what I'm saying, but I hope and pray that some of you celebrities are watching. I hope some of you tap dancing, cooning, Sambo, bought and paid for Negroes is watching this, and I hope you get massively offended. I said to Grinch, is it possible that some of us have more slave blood than others? Do some of us have a higher concentration of genetics in our lineage that comes from slaves? And is that the reason why some of us operate the way we do? Now, some people are going to say, oh, that's ridiculous. And the funny thing about it is the same people that will say that's ridiculous will be the same people saying that they have trauma from slavery. Check this out. If you're able to, in this day and age, say that you have generational trauma that is passed down through the centuries that has caused you to be in a certain condition today, we cannot ignore the fact that your propensity for being a slave and having a certain mentality couldn't also be passed down through the centuries. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, some of the stuff y'all do, it don't even make sense, bruh. It does not make sense to someone like me, right? And I say someone like me because I don't think like that. Now, Chaotic's explanation makes so much sense. Nigga nucleic acid. It makes so much sense. I'm so glad he put a term to it. I'm so glad he gave it a term, because now that was the missing piece to the puzzle. Because now when I get to a back and forth with somebody like a Jay Prince, I can look back, I can look at him and I can say, you know what? It's cool, bro. I'm not even going to argue with you. I get it. I get it. I get it. I can't, I'm not going to be able to reach you. Because you got too much nigga nucleic acid. You have a high concentration. Now, for those of you that are BINOs, and I'm going to tell you like this, if you're a BINO and you're black, that means you have a low amount of nigga nucleic acid. You have just enough to enjoy the rap music when I play it. You have just enough to ignore the to enjoy the fuckery whenever I engage in the fuckery. But not enough to where all you want to hear is rap music. Not enough to where all you want to hear is fuckery. You have a limit. You have a limit. Right? So it's starting to make sense to me. It's starting to make sense to me because I've been saying that there needs to be a separation. There needs to be a separation. There needs to be a separation. UT now said, I'm dark-skinned, brother, but I'm on chill at 46. Old, believe that. Well, see, it's not, and see, that's the thing. This is why I'm glad he brought this up. I'm glad he said at the subatomic level, because guess what? That has nothing to do with the tone of your skin. That has nothing to do with the tone of your skin. I feel like there are going to be light-skinned dudes that have high levels of it, and there are going to be dark-skinned dudes that have low levels of it. There's going to be dark-skinned dudes that have high levels of it. There's going to be light-skinned dudes that have low levels of it. But the reason why I'm glad he put this term up here is because it gives you something to grab onto to make this nigga shit make sense. Because prior to that, it wasn't making any damn sense. It wasn't making sense. It wasn't making sense. And see, and Jay Jermaine said, nothing to do with your skin tone play. Of course it doesn't, because I know plenty of light-skinned dudes that's ignorant as fuck. The same way I know dark-skinned dudes that's ignorant as fuck. I know light-skinned dudes that are massively intelligent, and I know dark-skinned dudes that are massively intelligent. This makes more sense. This makes way more sense. You feel?
That is why I am able to de-escalate, use reason and rationale. Because I got into it with a nigga last night. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Let me go back to the science of all of this. Bob says, DMV, your videos are all fire. At the subatomic level, again, guys, exists nigga nucleic acid. And again, this compound, this nucleotide, is packed with violence. It's packed with aggression. It's packed with illogical electrons. Making shit up now. And again, some of us have a lot of it and some of us don't. The difference between me and a George Floyd is George Floyd had higher levels of nigga nucleic acid, whereas I have lower levels of it. That is why I am able to de-escalate, use reason and rational thought. Now, some people have high levels of it and they are able to manage it as well, but some people can't. Now, last night, Sharon Bracey, who is an incredible content creator, he's an incredible guy.
And he goes into what happened on the show. I don't really want to go into that. Shout out to Chaotic Truth. If you have not checked out Chaotic Truth Live, You could check him out when you get a chance. Subscribe to him, all of that good stuff. I hope he don't mind me using his his video. But it gives me a basis. It gives a foundation of what we're dealing with. You feel me? Because that's what we're dealing with in this election cycle. We dealt with it the last election cycle. Let's be honest. Like, there were guys that I was cool with that turned on me. I'm talking drastically turned on me. Shout out to Miles. Miles said, AM, you see the Anton Cook on Laura Ingraham show on Fox News. The truth is starting to go mainstream. You better believe celebs and mainstream news listens to this space. You up next, AM. Yeah, I saw Anton on Fox News. Shout out to Anton. I saw Anton on Fox News up there cooking up. I seen it. I said, yo, that's what's up. Shout out to Mojo561. Appreciate you. He said shout out. And look, I'm not even gonna lie. There was a time where I would have been surprised, but I'm not really surprised to see Anton on Fox News. Haven't Anton been on Dr. Phil's show before? Like, I'm not really surprised to see Anton up there. You feel what I'm saying? I expect him to get on shows like that. I expect a lot of people in these spaces to get on certain shows and stuff like that. It's well overdue. It's well overdue because in these spaces, you have a lot of intelligent people who have a lot to say. They're actually speaking for the average everyday person. And for a very long time, they've been trying to ignore people in these spaces. They've been trying to ignore people in these spaces. UT now says, do you want to get on shows, brother? It really makes me no difference. I really don't care. Either way. I really don't care. Like, I'm not really, if somebody invited me to be on a show like that to give my opinion, I wouldn't have a problem doing it, but I'm not pressed about it. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. I'm glad Anton went up there because Anton is a little more. Anton is extremely articulate. He knows how to convey his thoughts in a very concise way to where he can get the proper point pushed across. And it's hard for people to try to make Anton be something else other than what he is. So it's kind of hard for people to try to come at him sideways when he's conveying his thoughts. So if there was ever somebody that was a good person to put up there to convey those thoughts, it would be Anton. You feel what I'm saying? Now, a nigga like me, it has a little more nigga nucleic acid, I would have a Cameron moment. I would end up having a Cameron moment. I'm not even gonna front. You feel what I'm saying? I would end up having a Cameron moment. Shout out to Blue. Said, let's get these likes up. Over 800 people in here. Only 300 likes. Yeah, man, they hate getting the likes up. He said, let's get them up. Yeah, man, let's get the likes up. Hit the likes, hit the likes, hit the likes, man. Hit the likes. I'm going to tell you what I learned from lead attorney. We need a ratio of, we need to have at least half the amount of likes of people watching. So if we got over 800 watching, we need over 400 likes, man. Let's get the likes up. I don't know why lead attorney says that, but, you know, he be cooking up and he be having a lot of people watching, so I'm going to trust his judgment. Shout out to Kelson. Appreciate you. Shout out to INP. He says, salute AM, the light skin God, support the show. So yeah, I saw Anton. That was what was up. I seen it. I was like, oh snap. They got Ton Dog on Fox News. You feel me? Bringing some visibility to the space. You feel what I'm saying? So let's go to the first thing that we got to talk about. The first thing we got to talk about is we got to show the first thing that we got to talk about. We got to show what happened with my shit. My bad, y'all. My damn which color just off. We got to talk about the reaction that everybody is having to Meg Thee Stallion's performance. Shout out to Buddha Buddha, appreciate you. The funny thing is, you got people on TikTok trying to compare Meg Thee Stallion to Amber Rose. You know, so you got people running around talking about some, I don't know why everybody's upset that I don't know why everybody's upset that Meg Thee Stallion was at that Atlanta rally for Kamala. The Republicans had Amber Rose up there. Amber Rose gave a speech. Okay? But let's be clear about it. Amber Rose gave a speech, and let's be real, it was an articulate speech. It was a very articulate speech. I was actually surprised. Okay? Do you think for 1 second that if the Republicans wanted Amber Rose to go out there and twerk, she wouldn't have did it? You think the Republicans can't get an artist to come out there and twerk? Of course they can. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. What they're going to do is they're going to have somebody come out there and talk. They're going to give a speech or whatever. But see, the reason why Kamala will have, you know, Meg Thee Stallion come out there and start twerking is because this is what she thinks of you. This is what she thinks of you. She thinks the only way to get your vote is to try to identify with you in a way that she thinks is your culture. See, she doesn't understand what your culture is. If you go back and listen to her talking, you can tell she don't understand your culture. She doesn't, right? Shout out to Zero Fallout, said the NNA in my double helix sure loves deep bass frequencies. I can feel my whole body pulse with the sound. Okay, that's what's up. So, what was she doing out there? Well, let's check out this video so we can get an idea of what Meg Thee Stallion was doing.
Now I know my ladies in the crowd love their body. Real hot girls. And if you want to keep loving your body, you know who to go for. Hey! 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 Yeah. Body crazy, curvy, wait. Yeah, yeah. Body crazy, curvy, wait. Look at how I body that. Ate it up and gave it back. Yeah, you look good, but they still wanna know. See me in that dress and he felt like he almost tasted that. Num 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 but you ain't never got it. I'm pregnant when I'm. Oh, that.
Where do I begin? I'm still amazed at how untalented. Is untalented a word? I'm still amazed at how I'm amazed at her lack of talent. Whenever I see her up there gyrating, you know what it makes me think of? Any of you that have daughters, right? You know how your daughter and her friends will be like, if your daughter has a sleepover, right? There may come a moment where your daughter and her friends are listening to music and they're standing in front of the mirror pretending to be performers. That's what that looks like. The way she is sashaying back and forth across the stage with that long ass weave and them skimpy clothes, it looks like somebody's teenage daughter went and put on one of her mother's wigs and stood in front of the mirror with a fake microphone pretending to be a talented performer. That's what it looks like. Shout out to High Tolerance said, what would it look like the royal family bringing some low-life degenerate to Buckingham Palace? You won't see it. And here's the other thing. At worst, she's a high school teenage girl dancing in front of the mirror. At best, she's a low-level stripper. Like, what happened to the days when female rappers were not ex-strippers, nor did they emulate stripper culture? Shout out to UT now. He said gifted one membership. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to the lowly one. He said barbarians are at the gates, traitors from within, and B-dubs out here twerking. Yep. No, I'm going to tell you what's going on right now. When you see her up there twerking, you see all of these women supporting Kamala Harris. I'm going to tell you what this is. This is the Negroes on the Titanic playing the music as the ship is sinking. That's what that is. Shout out to God and everything else for life said sad but true, hurt and depressing. Shout out to Picasso the Magnificent. He said Megan is a backyard wrestler. Yo, Megan is a backyardigan? Is she a backyardigan? But this is what this is. This is the Negroes on the ship playing music as it's sinking. Play some music, Negro. Play some music, Negro. And for the record, any of you that thought this was a good performance and thought this was a good rally, you definitely have high levels of nigga nucleic acid. You definitely do. You have it in a concentrated form. Shout out to Blue said, imagine a world where buffoonery is represented in the public eye as a collective of a race. Oh shit, no need to imagine. Now, here's the interesting thing. Right? So check out some of these reactions to this video.
a moment of fucking silence. No. Keep taking it in. First things fucking first. First of all. Okay? First and foremost, I think we owe me a fucking apology. Yeah. You know how many follows I lost behind my last video? Because I was playing around? Are you not entertained? Are we not all playing around at this point? So when I said this shit is a circus, this shit is comical, I was wrong, right? Megan at the fucking rally, twerking. This is our elections? This is 2024 elections? Laugh up. That shit was so cringy, so distasteful. The secondhand embarrassment that washed over me, like, I would rather be from any other country at this point. They're fucking laughing at us. But no, this is your president. I hope you're fucking entertained. I hope you love it. This is your new president.
Now, if you remember, Umar Johnson predicted it. I gotta give Jermaine credit. Look, we gotta give Jermaine his just due. Because Dr. Umar knew they were gonna do this. He knew it. He knew it. He called it. Matter of fact, let me pull up that video.
If the Democratic Party wants the black male vote, I'm not too sure they get it with Kamala Harris, but I know what she's going to do. She's going to do exactly what the Republicans just did in Milwaukee with our sister Amber Rose and with Hulk Hogan. Wait till you see the Negropeans who are going to speak at the Democratic National Convention. It's going to be a complete circus. I'm telling you what they're going to do. I believe they're going to grab the rappers and they're going to grab the athletes. They're going to find someone extremely popular within the hip hop industry and the entertainment world to speak for Kamala Harris or whomsoever the Democratic Party convention nominates. I promise you, because they have to outdo Hulk Hogan and they have to outdo Amber Rose.
So, Dr. Umar was right. He was right. You feel me? But we got to take anything. This is not trust and believe. Even though he was right in that instance, doesn't mean look, a broken clock is right twice a day. We still got to take what he says with a grain of salt because he's out here trying to woo Sukihana. Yeah, it's official. He's trying to get with Sukihana. He's trying to make Sukihana his woman. And the only reason why I know this is because Ray J came out the woodwork and told him he need to stand down because Sukihana's his girl. I don't know what's going on, bro. I don't know what's going on. Ray J just low-key threatened Dr. Umar, told him to stand down because Suki is his girl. I don't know what's going on. You feel what I'm saying? But he was right. Shout out to Michelle. That's what I was saying earlier. Dr. Umar Toyota Tundra called it. But look at some more of these reactions. Let's look at some more of these reactions because the only thing that gives me a little bit of hope is the fact that there are a lot of black women on TikTok that are not feeling this at all.
No, I'm not joking. But let me show you what is a joke.
Somebody call Rihanna, I'm about to draw with him. He with the stage cause he get the wild women. Put the legs on his head, now he love cow with him. You will never catch me calling these men daddy. I ain't lying, grandma, just to make it.
community gonna realize the Democratic Party does not take us seriously. Or more so, they don't think that we're smart. Their strategy for decades has been hiring black entertainers to endorse them. Fast forward 2024, they're still doing the same thing. It is even worse. Because now they sprinkling a little bit of ratchetness into it for relatability. And I'm just like, last election, Joe Biden's campaign for the black vote was telling black people that they not black if they don't vote for him. And getting some strippers to twerk with the word vote wrote on their booty. And also, for some odd reason, hiring Cardi B to endorse him, even though Cardi B's not black, but she was used to get the black vote, not her own people vote, but our vote. Now we got Kamala Harris throwing a rally and Megan Thee Stallion is performing. Megan Thee Stallion is twerking. And y'all swear to God, this is to reach the black youth and get the black. Listen, these people don't take us seriously. They are not twerking and dancing and partying to get anybody else's vote. They are discussing policies, new laws, bills, resolutions for their community. They don't do that for us though. Kamala Harris literally got in office and told y'all that she's not finna push nothing for black people just because she's black. That should have let y'all know right then and there. They only want the black vote for numbers so that they can get elected. But they ain't got nothing for black people. And no, this is not an endorsement for Trump or the right or Republican Party. This is simply a critique to Democrats to be more serious when engaging with black American voters. We are not a monolith. We're not all ignorant. We're not all party heads. And matter of fact, there's a time and place for all of this. We can party and we can get serious about policies and laws to protect us. You do not have to dumb yourself down to engage with black Americans. And bless Megan Thee Stallion's heart. Because while I know it was a big thing for her to perform, it just made her look like a puppet to me. She shouldn't have showed up as Megan Thee Stallion. She should have been Megan Pete. She should have had a speech. She shouldn't have been doing TikTok dances. Like, I don't know, y'all. I'm just so annoyed. Nobody takes her seriously. And Malcolm X himself clocked this T years ago. I can't believe that y'all haven't tried to revamp. Like, this is crazy. I'm just wondering.
Now, you want to know why they don't take you seriously? This is why they don't take you seriously. If you notice what she said in her explanation, I don't like what the Democrats are doing, but this is not an endorsement for Trump and the Republicans. That's why they don't take you seriously. That's why they don't take you seriously. And then, in addition to that, man, bless Megan's heart. I know it was a big deal for her, but she should have gave a speech. A speech about what? See, even though you find something wrong with Meg Thee Stallion performing at that rally, you still aren't thinking properly. There's still a missing piece in your comprehension. I don't know if y'all have noticed this or not, right? I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, right? This is the thought process of the average everyday nigga. I'm either going to like the Democrats or I'm not going to like nobody. In other words, if you like the Democratic nominee as a black person, oh yeah, I'm going to vote. This is awesome. We finally going to get some stuff done. If you don't like the Democratic nominee, oh, they both of them parties is horrible and the whole system is corrupt and they both two, they're corrupt wings of the same bird. And then you have the nerve to wonder why you're not taken seriously. And I'm still trying to figure out why the black community has such vitriol and such hatred for the Republican Party. I'm still trying to figure that shit out. I still want to understand why you vehemently oppose the Republican Party. Still trying to figure that out. Now, if I was a guessing man, I would say that my theory about some Negroes having more slave blood is accurate. Because the Republicans were never your slave masters, but the Democrats most certainly were. In fact, the Republican Party was started to oppose slavery. So the only rational explanation I can come up with is that you niggas don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. You're a slave on the plantation, and you're worried that if you ever left the plantation, how would you be able to take care of yourself? How you going to take care of yourself without them handouts? How you going to take care of yourself without welfare? You ain't never going to come out and say it, but that's what it is. I ain't stupid. I know what it is. I know what it is. Because I find it ironic that every 4 years, you got two choices. You can pick a Democrat or you can pick a Republican. And some of y'all gonna say, we get three choices. There's an independent. Man, shut up. They're independent for a reason. No, let's stop playing. You get two choices. Democrats or Republicans. And what I keep noticing is that you Negroes are so hell-bent on voting for the Democrats that the only way you're going to vote at all is if there's a Democrat that you like. And guess what? You liking them ain't never got nothing to do with policy. It never has a damn thing to do with policy. It always has something to do with some arbitrary, stupid-ass shit. Kamala Harris, she's identified as a black woman and she's a woman. That's the reason why y'all like her. Joe Biden, why'd you like him? Because he was Barack's VP. Barack, why'd you like him? Because he's the first black president. Bill Clinton, why'd you like him? Because he smoked weed and played the saxophone. You Negroes never like a candidate for the right damn reasons. And I'm starting to feel like the reason why you do that is because if you actually set your behind down and looked at the policies, I think you're afraid that you're going to find out that you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to the Republicans. I really feel like if you sat down and looked at the policies, you would be like, damn, I actually agree with the Republicans. But you don't want to do that because you don't want the rest of the ignorant ass niggas in your family and your social group to be mad at you. And why is that? Because the Democrats have done such an awesome job of painting Republicans as racist. It's the biggest okie doke in the history of history. You can literally go through policy and you will find that every single thing that you've gotten from government came from the Republicans. Excuse me, every single thing you've gotten that was of any real value, you got from Republicans. And I know what you're going to try to do. You're going to try to pull Lyndon B. Johnson out your ass and say, what about the Voters' Rights Act? I don't know if you notice or not, but niggas could vote before that. You really need to dive into that Voters' Rights Act and see what it really was about. Because the same year he gave you the Voters' Rights Act is also the same year he gave you food stamps. It's also the same year he changed the welfare system to where you can't have a man in the house. It's also the same year that they overhauled the freaking criminal justice system and created certain things that would cause a revolving door for inner city youth. And of course, when I say inner city youth, I'm talking about black people. And if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, do me a favor and go look up the book From the War on Poverty to the War on Crime by Elizabeth Hinton, a professor, I think, from Yale University. The same year they gave you the Voters' Rights Act was the same exact year that they changed the criminal justice system, making way for things like probation officers, making way for things like parole officers, making way for privatized prisons and the entire prison industrial complex. Go look up, go do your research and look prior to 1965. You did not have this police state that you now have. You didn't have this revolving door in the criminal justice system. You didn't have the type of welfare system that you have right now. You can literally go and do the research, and what you will notice, and I've showed you guys on this show, black people going into Reconstruction, coming out of slavery, every single metric was climbing. Literacy, education, business ownership, marriage. Every single aspect of black life was improving, was skyrocketing until you get to the late 60s. Until you get to Lyndon Baines Johnson. Once that decrepit, raggedy mother, you know what, became president, the moment the 70s hit, you see a decline for black people in every metric. All of the metrics that were going up, you didn't see a decline. You see the literacy rate stop improving. You see the education rate stop improving. You see the business ownership rate plummet. You see the intact family rate plummet. You see the marriage rates plummet. Democrats ain't did nothing for you but destroy your community. That's what they did. That's what they did. Now, if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, hey, like LeVar Burton used to say on Reading Rainbow, you ain't got to take my word for it. You can go do the research your damn self. Shout out to Gilbert. He said, couldn't wait for you to jump down on this. One more power to you. Appreciate you. You can go do your research. You can go do your research. Yo, I need y'all to hit the Cash App and support the show. And by the way, moving forward, I will not be reading out loud any $2 chats. The only messages I will be reading from now on are messages that are $5 or better. Y'all gonna stop $2 and me to death. Real talk. I have awesome content. You're not gonna keep treating my content like it's discounted. You feel me? We not gonna do that. And by the way, for those of you that don't think you're on the plantation, let me help you out. Let me pull this up real quick. So, yo, we need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show. We need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show. So shout out to Elias. I think that's how you pronounce it. We're about to go into why you Democrats are still on a plantation in a second. But before we go into that, we need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show. We need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show. We're gonna wait because it makes no sense to have this many people watching and not really get support like that. Yo, shout out to Michael. He said showing support. Shout out to Jaron. Shout out to Zero Fallout for being a sponsor. Appreciate you. About to cook up. We about to cook up. It's gonna be some mad people after I say this.
$50 boss up. Stack up and match up.
He said for the shoe. Shout out to AGT. He said, you waking folks up with this message. Salute, OG. Shout out to Magwood. He said, for the show. Shout out to John. Appreciate you. Shout out to William. Appreciate you. So, And shout out to Buddha. He said, cucks for Kamala. So here's the reality. I'm going to show you guys this video. I'm going to show you a couple of videos that don't make any damn sense to me, right? And it perfectly illustrates the Democratic plantation, right? So this is the first video. Check this out.
Y'all cannot convince somebody to accept reality if they're not ready to accept it. This whole Trump versus Harris election has really opened my eyes to the ignorance in this country, and I've come to terms with it. And it's just like, what's the point of hating these people? You know what I'm saying? We were all at that one point of ignorance where like we believed what social media was telling us. They're still immature. They still need to learn. They still need to experience life for themselves. So no, I'm not going to sit up here and hate these people for being ignorant. That's just on them. But we've given y'all plenty of facts, plenty of evidence, websites, sources, everything you guys have asked for. Plenty of reasons why Kamala should be elected over Trump. And y'all still refuse to accept it. So at that point, it's just a battle with yourselves. Y'all cannot convince somebody.
She's all of what, 15 years old? She can't be no older than 18 years old. And doesn't have a clue what the hell she's talking about. This is what this world has done. This world has made idiots think they're intelligent. That's what the society has done. Shout out to A-Man. He said, set us free. This society has made stupid people think that they're intelligent. Right? Well, let's put it to the test. Shout out to Steve H for being a sponsor.
$50 boss up. Stack up and match up.
He said keep it going. Here's another example. Watch this. You have that level of stupidity, and then you have this level of stupidity.
Listen, we don't need to spend a lot of time discussing the fact that both Democrats and Republicans take us for a joke. Because it's blatantly obvious in their tactics and how they pander to us with foolishness, but there's never any talk about actual progress. History has shown that no real progress has come to the black community from the Democratic nor the Republican Party.
Pause. She said history has shown. See, this is what annoys the crap out of me. When the Democrats prove themselves to be a joke, when the Democrats prove themselves to be racially insensitive, when the Democrats prove that they have absolutely no intention to do anything for black folk, these ignorant Negroes love to try to pull the Republicans into that bullshit. This person right here said out of her mouth that history has proven that neither the Democrats nor the Republicans have done anything for black people. Neither the Democrats or the Republicans have done anything for black people. I'm going to play it again.
Shown that no real progress has come to the black community from the Democratic nor take us for a joke. Because it's blatantly... Listen, we don't need to spend a lot of time discussing the fact that both Democrats and Republicans take us for a joke. Because it's blatantly obvious in their tactics and how they pander to us with foolishness, but there's never any talk about actual progress. History has shown that no real progress has come to the black community from the Democratic nor the Republican Party. So
history has shown that no real progress for black people has come from the Democrat or the Republican Party. There's only one problem with that, young lady. If it were not for the Republicans, you'd still be a slave. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how idiotic some of these people are. You wouldn't even be free if it wasn't for the Emancipation Proclamation. that was given to you by a Republican president. In fact, let's play it again real quick so everybody can hear the stupidity.
Listen, we don't need to spend a lot of time discussing the fact that both Democrats and Republicans take us for a joke. Because it's blatantly obvious in their tactics and how they pander to us with foolishness, but there's never any talk about actual progress. History has shown that no real progress has come to the Black community from the Democratic nor the Republican Party, so why do we put so much effort in voting?
Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president. Lincoln wanted to free the slaves. Democrats fought a war to keep their slaves. Republican President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing all slaves in America. Democrat slave owners were furious. Lincoln made equality for all Black people part of the official Republican Party platform. Republicans wrote and passed the 13th Amendment, ending slavery forever in the United States. Most Democrats voted against it. Republicans wrote and passed the 14th Amendment and granted citizenship and equal protection under the law to former slaves. No Democrats voted for it. Republicans wrote and passed the 15th Amendment, allowing Black Americans the right to vote. No Democrats voted for it. The first Black senator was a Republican. The first Black member of the U.S. House of Representatives, a Republican and former.
Because these Black folk, it's obvious that they do not do any research. They just go based off of what Mama and them said, right? Shout out to Yoshi K, said, like you said before, Republicans equal men while Democrats equal women. Shaking my head. Shout out to Dave Vin. He said, I don't think Dems could bring educated Black folks as speakers or representatives because an intellectual Black person may coincidentally be Republican/conservative. That's facts. Shout out to Most Hated. He said, hey, AM, can you share the link? The link is shared, my friend. Shout out to Amani. He said, this is too sad to watch. So now that we established that these younger Negroes and some of the older Negroes don't have a damn clue what they're talking about, right? But like I said before, it's the same mentality. The mentality is, okay, well, you know what? Since I'm a Democrat and the Democratic nominee is not the person I want, I'm just not going to vote, which is the dumbest thing anybody has ever said in the history of history. Stupidest thing, right? In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was Plato who said one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Plato, one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. So all you ignorant people who are running around here saying, well, I don't like the Democratic nominee, so I'm just not going to vote. You sound like a moron. That is not how you vote. The way you vote is you look at both parties. You look at both candidates. You look at their policies. And you vote your interest. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent. Guess what? Just because you're a Democrat does not mean you're supposed to always vote Democrat. Just because you're a Republican does not mean you're supposed to always vote Republican. You're morons. You vote your interest. Now, We know you don't know what's in your interest because you have not done the research on policy. Because if you did the research on policy, you would have to look at Trump's record and you would have to look at Kamala's record. And if you looked at Kamala's record, there is absolutely no way you as a black person would want to vote for her. What are some of the things with Kamala's record? Well, let's start with looking up thousands of inmates released. Thousands of inmates released in California. That was under Kamala. That's when she was top cop of California. Why were they released? Because a lot of them were being held past their release date. A lot of them were being held on faulty evidence. There are brothers that actually almost lost their life. There's one brother in particular that did an interview. He did a whole interview. He was on death row. There was DNA evidence that would have exonerated him. Kamala's office tried to suppress it. They did not want to allow it. But federal judge allowed it. Guess what? That brother's free right now. So it's no wonder. See, you guys are surprised that she would pick Meg Thee Stallion to perform at her show. It doesn't surprise me that she picked Meg Thee Stallion to be at her rally. Because the same way Kamala Harris was cool with a black man going to death row, even though there was DNA evidence that would have exonerated him, is the same way right now everybody's talking about Tory Lane's driver who gave testimony that actually proves Tory Lane did not shoot Meg Thee Stallion. But they're trying to suppress it. See, flightless birds of a feather will always flock together. Okay? She has the same amount of hatred for black men that Meg Thee Stallion does. They are two peas in a damn pod. So it's not surprising. Kamala Harris actually held prisoners past their release date in order to get free labor. One of the daughters, and it's not just black men, one of the granddaughters of the late, great Nina Simone did something incorrectly. She spent some money from the estate and she didn't do it properly. And you know what Kamala Harris did? She went after her with charges. Kamala Harris used her office and the power of her position in order to snatch away the estate of Nina Simone from her family. This is the reason why you end up with a Nina Simone biopic with Zoe Saldana playing her, because it wasn't her family that was in charge of her estate, thanks to Kamala Harris. The same woman that's claiming she's a black woman, but will take from Nina Simone. If Nina Simone was living, she would not endorse Kamala Harris. Right? But because you don't do your research, you don't know about that. And it gets worse. Oh, it gets worse if you go look at her record. But it's hard to look at her record because they're trying to hide certain things about her record. You feel me? But trust and believe, the things that she has done is far worse than anything Trump has ever done. But Negroes want to keep believing the hype. And if you think I'm lying, go try your best to look up any of the information. Go try your best to look up any of the information. Now, here's the other thing, right? When you look at this, I said that you Negroes that are Democrats, you're still on the plantation, right? And you'll probably say, well, you're wrong, Angry Man. We're not on the plantation. Okay, well, this is what I want you to do. You know I love recommending books because you know I love to recommend research, right? Shout out to Terrell. He said, at what point do Negroes get confused and think Democrats were the black saviors of the universe. Lyndon B. Johnson. That's the point. When Lyndon B. Johnson started giving them free shit, that's when it happened. That's when it happened. That's when it happened. When Lyndon B. Johnson started giving them free shit, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. started cozying up to the Democrats. That's when it happened. Shout out to Most Hated and Underrated. He said, thank you. Just shared that with 10 strong Dems on crack. People I know. Shout out to Zero Fallout. Said they are not going to talk about how Kamala was a sugar baby and slept her way to the top. Her and Meg have that in common too. Kamala Harris not only locked up more black men during her time as the top cop in California. And this is what they'll do. This is the talking point they're going to hit you with. They're going to say, she only sent a handful of people to prison. But I need you guys to use your brain. There's a difference between prison and jail. Okay? Some people that get long periods of time, they go to prison. Some people that get a certain amount of time that's not an extended period of time, they never go to prison. They stay in the county jail. Okay? So, don't look up how many black men she sent to prison. Look up how many black men she sent to jail. Look up how many black men that were supposed to be released from jail that were kept past the time they were supposed to be released. Look up the brother that was on death row. He's told his story. I showed a video. I showed this video back before the 2020 election. Right? Look up how many people Kamala Harris has locked up for marijuana use. Even though she got on the Breakfast Club and laughed and joked about how she used to listen to Biggie and Tupac and smoke weed. Go look up how she decided to start locking parents up for truancy. So you got parents out here whose kids skip school. They don't know about it. She's going after them like crazy. And not only did she go after them, but she went and got her prosecutors that prosecute serious crimes, like deleting people and stuff like that. She said, I want you prosecutors to go in there because, you know, when they look at you and say, who are these scary men? There is nothing pleasant about her. And I'm going to tell you something right now. You American B-dubs that think she's your friend, y'all are the biggest fools of all. She is not your friend. Not even close to it. Go look up her record. Go look up her. I don't care how much they try to get rid of it. There's going to be remnants of it everywhere. Now, for you individuals, and anybody that watches my show, you should already know her record. Because I showed it to you back. I showed it to you on the Street Conservative back during the 2020 election. When Joe Biden first picked her to be the VP, I gave you the rundown of her whole history. How many of y'all remember that? Press 1 if you remember it. Shout out to Corey. How many of y'all remember that? When I showed you. Now, to all of you folks that consider yourselves to be Democrats, right? If you're wondering, Well, Angry Man, how? How on God's green earth do you consider us still being on a plantation? Well, this is what I want you to do. Like I said, I like to recommend books. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to Amazon and I want you to look up a book called The Peculiar Institution, Slavery in the Antebellum South, written by Kenneth Stamp. I want you to go look up the book, The Peculiar Institution, Slavery in the Antebellum South. Okay? Now, in this book, Kenneth Stamp gives you several instances or examples or signs of a slave plantation. He said, through these signs, you can always spot a slave plantation, right? So the first sign is rigid discipline. Plantation owners maintain strict discipline to control the slaves, often resorting to acts of cruelty and violence. Right? 2, the exploitation of labor. Slaves were made to work hard, with their labor ranging from what was expected of free labor to excessive levels. In other words, you're in a situation where you work all of the time, but you never get anywhere. You work all of the time, but there's never any opportunity. You feel me? You work your fingers to the bone, and you never have shit. Right? Poor living conditions. Slaves were poorly cared for, living at a subsistence level with only the bare necessities provided. Okay? Number 4, infantilization. The institution of slavery stripped African Americans of their native culture, reducing them to a state of dependency and providing only limited vocational training in return. Number 5, economic justification. Slavery was a profitable enterprise, with the average slaveholder earning satisfactory returns on their investment, particularly those with large slave gangs. Right? 6, breeding for the market. Some Southern planters profited from breeding slaves for the market, despite the low repute of the slave trade among fastidious Southerners. In other words, there was always a controlling of that population through reproduction, right? What do you notice about every single sign that I just listed? What did you notice about every single sign that I just listed? Doesn't it sound like America for the past 4 years? Doesn't it sound like America for the past 4 years? Even worse, doesn't it perfectly describe blue states? Doesn't it perfectly describe blue states? Doesn't that describe California? What did Bill Clinton come up with? The 3-strike rule. Wasn't it Joe Biden that came up with the 94 crime bill? Rigid discipline. Plantation owners maintain strict discipline to control the slaves, often resorting in acts of cruelty and violence. Exploitation of labor. How many folks are working and feeling like they're not getting ahead? Poor living conditions. How many people can't afford rent? Infantilization. Stripping away your culture. How many of us are being forced and indoctrinated into this new way of living, this new way of thinking, this new way of operating? What culture have they stripped away? The nuclear family, intact family units, traditionalism, right? Economic justification, profiting off of the people at the lower economic level, but the people at the lower economic level have very little opportunity to rise in their socioeconomic standing, right? Breeding market. How are they controlling people through reproduction? Planned Parenthood, which is the main platform that Kamala Harris is running off of right now. The Democrats are running Democratic cities like plantations. Sleepy Joe has been running this country like a plantation. Trump didn't do that. One, rigid discipline. Trump actually signed the First Step Act that allowed people to get out of prison that had nonviolent crimes. Exploitation of labor. Trump actually created opportunity zones, actually brought in more jobs, actually fined and punished corporations for taking their businesses outside of the country for cheaper labor, thus increasing the wages of American people and giving American people more opportunity to rise in their socioeconomic standing. Poor living conditions. Under Trump, the freaking the cost of housing was not where it is at right now. Right? Infantilization. Under Trump, Trump is not trying to take away traditionalism. Trump is not trying to take God out of the schools. Trump is not trying to go against the nuclear family. Trump is not with all of this wokeism. Economic justification. Trump doesn't expect the country to make all of its money off of the American people and the American people stay poor. Trump doesn't expect other countries to make all of its money off the American people and the American people stay poor. He actually wants the American people to actually be able to live a decent life, make a decent wage, start a business, right? Breeding market. We already know what Trump feels about that as far as Planned Parenthood and all of that other foolishness, right? So when you hear people talking about the Democratic plantation, they're not exaggerating. They're not exaggerating. Go check out that book when you get a chance. Go check out that book when you get a chance. But now that we've gotten that out the way, I'm going to show you how they tried their best to set Trump up in a race baiting situation, right? Shout out to Magwood Corporation, said Judge Joe Brown spoke about Kamala 2 a.m. Of course he did. Shout out to K. K said Kamala out in these streets with MTS looking foolish. Shout out to AB Holmes. Shout out to Gary. He said keep frying these liberals, male hyenas and strags. Shout out to Stanicia. What's going on? Said drop link to black man speaking on Republicans. I got you. I'm gonna drop it again, and I'm gonna pin it to the top of the chat.
Abraham Lincoln.
We drop it in both the channels. I'm gonna pin it to the top of the chat. And by the way, if any of you celebrities that had all that smoke for me yesterday, well, last week, if you're watching right now, I hope you're paying attention. Because I'm not the one to play with. I hope you're paying attention. I hope you're paying attention. You're probably sitting back thinking to yourself, you know what, let me leave this motherfucker alone. Because you're not dealing with just some individual just on YouTube running their mouth. You're dealing with an intellectual. I will cook you with fresh grease. I will cook you like some steaks on my Weber grill. Play if you want to. Play if you want to. I know what I'm talking about, and I am extremely articulate. So play if you want to. Let's see. Let's pull up this video. I want y'all to see how they tried to bring Trump in. Watch this, y'all. Matter of fact, hold on. Before we even go into that, yo, hit the Cash App and support the show, man. Hit the Cash App and support the show. Support the shoe. Support the shoe. Don't be a nigga. Be a BINO and support the show, man. Shout out to Lord Geotron. He said, big homie, Angryman, tell him you got goons too. Yeah, man. Look. They don't even understand. They don't even understand, bro. They don't even understand. But, yo, I need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show, man. I need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show. Let's get to this video.
As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact-check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media.
To fact-check this conversation, you set your ass up there and told an entire lie. You sat up there and said Kamala Harris never always identified as a black woman. That is a fucking lie. That's a lie. Before we even get started, shout out to Dennis. He said, another fire show. Appreciate it.
Using the hashtag NABJFactCheck. Again, the hashtag is NABJFactCheck. We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time. So let's bring out the former president of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump.
Now, here's the funny thing. The funny thing about this is she's talking about we're going to fact check in real time, right? We're going to fact check in real time. Like, what? the level of disrespect they show Donald Trump is amazing to me. The level of disrespect. Have you ever seen any, prior to Donald Trump running for president the first time, have you ever seen reporters, people in the media talking about fact-checking a politician? Have you ever seen that? Shout out to Bull City, said, AM, your content keeps me sane in this insane world. I appreciate you. Shout out to Livelog TV, said, Angryman, you already know stars are nothing more than balls of gas. Oh, my goodness. Yo, shout out to James. He said the 3 founders of the KKK were Democrats. Of course they were. Of course they were. We need 9 more people to hit the Cash App and support the show.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed...
So already off the rip, disrespectful. This man was a sitting president. She starts off the conversation talking about some... many people didn't think it was appropriate for you to be here. And is going to go into some race baiting shit.
False claims about some of your rivals. Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today.
And let me pause for a second. Let me point something out. I got to point this out. Because nobody else is going to point it out. Nobody else is going to say it. When it comes to Democrats and leftists that want to go back and forth with Republicans, where are your black men? Why is it every time somebody's arguing with a Republican and accusing them of being racist, it's always a black woman? Can somebody answer that question for me? Always. He's sitting there right now. There are 3 black women up there. Where is the male representation of the Democratic Party? See, that's a rhetorical question. I don't need you to answer that question. See, in the Democratic Party, you Negroes operate under the gynocracy, so you have to take a back seat to your women. You think we don't know that? You think we don't know that?
You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States. Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a...
What? Who do they think they dealing with? Who does she think she's dealing with? Why are you messing with that man? Do you know who he is? This man was a former president. This man has issued drone strikes. This man has caused world leaders to bow down. President Trump, when he goes to meet other world leaders, you could literally play West Side Connection, bow down when I come to your town. Bow down. Because I'm not a hater like you. Bow down to a nigga that's greater than you. First of all, this man don't come for no games. You're not gonna talk to him in a disrespectful way and he not check it.
Ask the question, so...
For you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
I would love
think
you
it's
can
a
answer
very
the question
nasty
on your
question.
rhetoric and why you
I have
believe that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Tell them about the gun line, boss.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
She said better than President Johnson that signed the Voters' Rights Act. That was her rebuttal. Her rebuttal was better than LBJ? Her rebuttal was better than Lyndon B. Johnson? Did she invoke Lyndon Baines Johnson? Is that what she did? You damn Skippy, he's a better president than Lyndon B. Johnson. You damn Skippy. This is crazy.
To start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
For you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up.
Oh my God. Ugh. The masculinity is just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Did you hear the way he G-checked her? Like, first of all, you 35 minutes late because you couldn't even get your equipment to work right. Yo, bruh. I don't understand how the black community can't respect a dude that keeps it this funky. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Shout out to Raider Gaines. He said, remember when Trump funded Jesse Jackson to run while the Dems laughed at the thought of a black man being president? And when Trump donated to Harris, when Dems begged him to run as a Dem, he should sue for defamation. Shout out to Beastly Nerd. He said they forgot the fact that it was Hillary Clinton that started Obama not being born here crap. Yep. So after he cooked on that question, she tried to move on to the next question about Kamala. Watch this.
Sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that?
That's not the she doesn't even understand this. This is what's so funny about this. He asked her to define it, not give him the words for the acronym. She said DEI. He said, could you define it, please? She said diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's not defining it, ma'am. That's simply stating what the letters stand for. That's not defining it. What are you talking about? And I'm going to tell you something else, too. Donald Trump doesn't want to debate Kamala or any of the Democrats until they give a definitive answer of who their candidate is going to be, right? Because there's already some iffy stuff around who the candidate is going to be. And I find it sad and pathetic that they called him here to try to debate themselves. That's what this is. This is them trying to debate him. That's what this is right here. And they getting their ass tore up the same way Kamala would get tore up in a debate.
Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
no,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
It. Define it for me if you
I
will.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect either
historically black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask, continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
I wish I could have seen the crowd's faces. Oh my, bruh, I need a different angle. I need a different camera angle. I wish I could see the looks on those people's faces when
Embarrassing.
Oh my God, this backfired crazy. Because guess what? He's not saying nothing that black people aren't saying on TikTok right now, all across social media. Everything he's saying, black people themselves are saying. When did she start identifying as black? When? Shout out to Zero Fallout. He said emotional damage. Oh my God. This is hilarious, bruh. This is hilarious. This is hilarious. Yo, shout out to Eugene. Appreciate you. Shout out to B. Baker. Shout out to Thomas. He said for the show, keep cooking AM. Shout out to Jeremy. Shout out to D. Anthony. He said niggas are allergic to facts, brother. Yes, sir. Shout out to Gary. He said they were trying to get him to turn up. Yeah, they was trying to get him in a gotcha moment. They was trying to catch him in a racist gotcha moment. That's what they was trying to do, not realizing who they dealing with. Y'all realize who y'all dealing with? This is DJ Trump on the ones and twos. You feel me? Like, come on, bruh. You think, look, first of all, that American B-dub crap ain't gonna work on him. The man has dated American B-dubs. That's the part y'all keep forgetting. You keep forgetting this man's history. He spent most of his life hanging out with black people. Like, what are we talking about here? This man received an award from the NAACP. What are we talking about here? Niggas asking Mike Tyson why he voting for Trump. He's been friends with Mike Tyson since the damn 80s. What are we talking about here? Yo, shout out to a man. He said he gonna cry when he gets in the car. Who gonna cry when they get in the car? Who gonna cry when they get in the car? Who's gonna cry when they get in the car? Who's gonna cry when they get in the car? Do I suspect? Do I suspect we got a hater in here? Is that a hater? Hey man, are you a hater? Is that a hater? Is that a hater? Do we got a hater in here? Oh, my bad. He's talking about Kamala. He said Kamala, she to him. Oh, you mean she gonna cry in the car? I don't know, man. We don't. I'm just making sure we don't do no Donald Trump hate over here, bro. Just making sure. We don't do no Donald Trump hate over here, fam. We not doing that over here. Let's see what else they had to ask him.
Direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire?
I really don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an
Look at how they're trying to act like they don't know what he's talking about, bruh. Look at how they try.
Invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions. And they
Yo, shout out to Most Hated and Underrated. Said, you see how she softened up? Masculinity is undefeated. Yeah.
are taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural.
No, go back to the black jobs. Go back to the black jobs and tell him how he's being racist by saying black jobs. What did you think? Did you think he was going to shy away from that shit? Do you think he was going to try to backpedal and say, well, I didn't really mean black jobs? You know what he meant. You know exactly what he meant.
Because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
Sure.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess this woman was unable to get the right...
This is why you don't come for Trump. This is why you don't come for him, bruh. This is why if you come for him, it's going to be smoke. Look, they in Chicago. When you come for Trump, it's going to be up. It's going to be up there, and it's going to be stuck up there. Oh, my God, bruh. Ooh-wee. Trump is like a bull in a china shop, and I love it. I fucking love it. Oh, my God.
Equipment, but it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or more than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the poll.
He's cooking. Already know where he's going. See, here's the beautiful thing about Donald Trump, right? It's one of the most beautiful things in this world, right? And there used to be a time where people were praised for this quality. But now that it's displayed by Donald Trump, it's viewed like it's such a bad thing, right? Whenever these discussions are had, there are people that try to lead the conversation in the direction they want it to go to, right? Donald Trump is not a horse you're going to corral. You're not going to try to lead him into, because that's really what they were trying to do. They were trying to lead him into a racial conversation. And if you notice, what he keeps doing is he keeps taking it away from the racial conversation, even though he's sprinkling a little bit in there, but he's making sure everybody understands, yo, this stuff is affecting everybody. It's affecting black people, but it's affecting everybody, right? In addition to throwing shade, in addition to, I can barely hear you because the equipment ain't, bruh. Yo, I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump is like, he's like the white 50 Cent, bruh. This shit is crazy, bruh.
And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight. A prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer it toward him. But ultimately it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr. President, can I ask you another question?
Yes.
This is gonna move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. Whew. Let's just look. Let's just look. They bit off more than they could chew. They probably was like, yeah, we gonna invite Trump down here and we gonna ask him the questions that matter. You feel me? See, we gonna have Trump come down here. And we gonna ask him about Kamala. And we gonna ask him about the black community and what he's gonna do for the black community. And I'm gonna get some answers because he ain't gonna just say anything to me. He just ain't gonna say nothing to me. But this is what happens when you not dealing with men. This is what happens when you are so used to dealing with soft, effeminate men that you can run over. When you encounter a man that has not been ran over, when you encounter a man who is a patriarch, when you encounter a man that is cut from the cloth of real grown men, you're not going to run over him. You're not going to lead the conversation. You're not going to make him say what you want him to say to fit your little narrative. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to sit up there and be frustrated, and then you're going to end up in a situation where you're looking crazy. And that's literally what it is. You're looking crazy up there.
Also impacting black Americans.
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has...
Every question they asking is a racial question. Every question they're asking. Bruh, every question is a racial question.
Since been charged with murder. You said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either. Okay. But again, why would...
Are they going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So, can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
you go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly.
They don't know what to do with that. Shout out to Oliver. He said Trump 2024. They don't know what to do with that. They don't know what to do with that. They're trying. Look, we know what this is. We know what this is. They are trying to catch him in a gotcha moment. And don't get it twisted. He's already said enough things that they're going to run with. He's already said enough things that they're going to run with. You know, when he said that the life of a police officer is difficult, which is true because they do have to make split-second decisions that are life and death situations or whatever, right? And the moment he said some of those decisions are not necessarily made because of evil, but because of a mistake. They're going to run with that. They're going to run with that. They're going to run with that. Trust and believe. They are going to run with that.
I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh my God. Like, here we go.
Doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case.
Why do they keep, see, this is what's so funny about this, and I hate to have to keep pausing it, but you know how it is with copyright. The funniest thing about this is they keep asking these questions, trying to catch him in a gotcha moment, but it's almost like they keep throwing underhand softballs to him. Is anybody else noticing this? In their attempt to try to demonize him and make him look bad, they keep throwing him alley-oops. Like, did you really just bring up prosecutors giving him the opportunity to talk about how he was unfairly prosecuted? Is that your strategy?
It was the most difficult case, and I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time, and he had 50 years worth of documents, and they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent, and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice? But they released him on the basis that he was incompetent.
Now, every time he starts answering the questions, they try to stop him from talking.
They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to
I
different
didn't
topics.
notice you do any publicity.
He said George Slopadopoulos. He said George Slopadopoulos, bruh.
I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to
I
different
didn't
topics.
notice you do any publicity.
See, I'm going to tell you why. Look, Trump isn't even taking this conversation seriously. I'm going to tell you why he's not taking it seriously. One, they were late. Two, they couldn't get their equipment working right. And three, she insulted him at the beginning of the conversation, and he immediately knew what it was. He immediately knew that this is some race baiting shit. That's why he's not really taking this conversation seriously.
Publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse
if
me,
we
you're
can.
the one that held me up at 35 minutes.
Oh my God, bruh. Trump has no chill, bruh. He has no chill. Oh my God. I'm calling it, man. Trump is my spirit animal. I'm calling it, bruh. Donald J. Trump is my spirit animal. I don't care what nobody say, bruh. Like, real talk. This man was a Viking in his past life, bruh. This man was a conqueror in his past life, bruh. I don't care what nobody say. This dude has no chill, bruh.
I have another one where
Sir,
I have
if you
a
don't mind, I'd
hostile
love to
judge.
we have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse
if
me,
we
you're the
can.
one that held me up at 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator JD Vance is your...
the funny thing about it is they're trying to trigger him, but he keeps countering with triggers. Every time he says something, do you hear the crowd? Bruh. The fact that in this day and age, you can still make a crowd go, I can't believe he said that. Oh, you mean a B-Dub interrupted a man and you can't believe he said something to her because she interrupted him?
Running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they...
JD Vance used to watch Kevin Samuels. When I heard he said that the Democrats were a bunch of women that were cat ladies, I said, holy shit, JD Vance used to watch Kevin Samuels. Oh my God.
A few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your
I think
position?
I'm speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family, and the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator JD Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children.
Why are you asking him about Senator JD Vance's viewpoints?
I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happen. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about JD Vance for a little bit. He's had some...
And they go right back to it. Yo, I can't even watch any more of this shit, bro. They go right back to it. They trying to hold him accountable for something JD Vance said. This is ridiculous.
Stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose JD Vance?
Why
did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too.
I know
everybody out there can, but it's hard.
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly. because you have many of them in this room, but you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult, with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the law journal. I mean, it's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually. Did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale.
In other words, Trump respects people that can get it out the mud.
That meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family, but he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. And so Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that...
I cannot understand your microphone.
I know,
so
it is really hard for me to
it's
understand
just,
you,
I can understand you perfectly.
because she's closer.
I can understand you.
Happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really happy to hear
understand
that.
Harris.
A few more questions.
Because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape, but I cannot understand
Are
you asking a question?
what you're saying.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring. You choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at JD Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in.
JD Vance?
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, well, my point is here.
It was said in a friendly manner.
My point is...
he said it was said in a friendly manner.
Do you think, well, my point is here.
It was said in a friendly manner.
My point is, Do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what JD Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the death.
But I think it's
they're
about
allowing
freedom,
the death
right?
of.
Yo, we got 2,400 people in here. I need y'all to hit the like button. Let's get the likes up, get the likes up, get the likes up. Hit the Cash App, support the show. Support the show, support the show, all of that good stuff, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. We should be able to get 100 contributors. We still need 15 people. Hit the Cash App, support the show, man.
Of a baby after the baby is born, based on
that
governor
is
of
illegal
Virginia.
in every state in the country.
Based on the governor of Virginia, they're allowing the death of the baby after it's born. They're allowing abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well, Democrats have denied.
I think they're right. And I think the Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps. But the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody.
But the majority of Americans oppose Roe v. Wade being overturned.
They
Multiple
don't know
polls have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look, right now they're doing...
Yeah, I'm going to fast forward past all of the baby deletion talk because this is crazy. This is wild.
To that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, and
Will be president at 82, which is Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people...
Would you consider...
He said not mentally. He's shot.
He's shot. But most people...
Would you consider...
Most people... I know many people in their 80s... But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people...
Would you consider...
Most people... I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you...
Oh, absolutely.
And who would make...
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me...
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That was a nasty, that wasn't a question. She didn't ask me a question. She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your statement, actually.
You said you would. You would
Oh,
make
absolutely.
that decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want...
Why is there a simp in the crowd trying to say something? Why is there a simp in the crowd trying to say something? Like, bruh, take your cape off, sir. Take your cape. You're in the audience, sir. We don't need you to say anything, sir. You're in the audience.
So what somebody's gonna do about it?
Like Trump is gonna say what he want to say, bruh.
So what somebody's gonna do about it?
People to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well,
I took 2 of them. But let me ask you, I would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done.
And see, this is what lets you know that they are biased. This is what lets you know they're biased, because every single time they ask him a question and he points out Biden's record, he points out the last, which anybody that's running for president, they should be able to make reference. If better yet, let's put it this way. Because this is the first time you've ever had, I think you've ever had this situation, if I'm not mistaken, where he was president for 4 years. Somebody defeated him for the next 4 years, and now he's running again for 4 years. If he was president before Biden and he had the country running like a well-oiled machine, and then Biden comes in and now the country's in disarray, he has every right to talk about that. He has every right to bring that up. He has every right to compare his record to Joe Biden's record. But if you notice, every single time he starts talking about Joe Biden's record, they try to interrupt him. Every time. And my thing is this. If you're Democrats, if you're diehard Democrats, why don't you have Kamala Harris up there asking her what her record is? Asking her what she plans on doing? Why have Trump there if the only reason you got him there is to ambush him? And at the end of the day, like, if you're trying to ambush him, at least be on time. At least make sure that your mics work. And I'm so glad that the lady that's on the end has some integrity, right? And the reason why I say that is because I'm so glad she said it too. I'm so glad that she said, I'm having a hard time hearing you too. Because if she hadn't said that, the mainstream media would have been like Trump was lying about not being able to hear her. He just didn't want to answer the question. Trump was lying about the equipment not working. He probably was lying about them being late. If that lady on the end had not said that, that would have been the news story. They would have ran out there and been like, oh, he didn't want to answer the question.
To our country, and her too. What they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test?
Mr. President,
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public.
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr. President, how do you intend?
Why is she asking him to take a cognitive test if he already said he took 2? He literally just sat there and said he would like to have something passed to where every president has to take a cognitive test. He literally just said he took 2 cognitive tests. In fact, he said it multiple times. And this woman in the middle, if you can call her that, this woman asked him, would you take a cognitive test? Shout out to Dub Will. He said it's happened before, but it was in the 1800s, Grover Cleveland. Appreciate you, Dub Will. I definitely didn't know that. Black men. I don't know what y'all got going on. But what I'm trying my best to figure out is, why is it your representation, your voice is always female? I need to understand this. Why is your voice, why is your representation always female?
tend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Oh my God. Oh, sweet Jesus. Wu said she paid off to manipulate the less fortunate. I said I was going to stop reading those. What's wrong with me, bruh? I said I was going to stop reading the $2 joints. What is wrong with me, fam? Oh my God, broski. Trump is a national treasure. I don't care what nobody say. Trump is the representation of an American. Like, let's be real about this, bruh. Shout out to said the gynocracy is what you get from single mamas trying to raise boys. No male role model, so they grow up believing mama should be in charge. That's facts. That is facts.
President, are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
To be clear, you don't think
I'm
Harris
just
passed?
giving you the facts. She didn't pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
She did pass it.
There's a man over here. I think he must work.
Mr. President, I would love to ask you about.
She did pass it. She did a fantastic job. What? Am I wrong? But I thought that news reporters were supposed to be non-biased.
January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Now she's talking about January 6th. You see what I mean? This is the foolishness, bruh. This is the foolishness. All they're doing is running with every narrative. Like this lady right here, ma'am, I know your ass is bought and paid for. Period. You are bought and fucking paid for. And it's ridiculous. Shout out to the introspective traveler. He said B-dubs are the original house ninjas. Of course.
Called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones. At least one officer lost an eye. One had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs. Another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint, that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to
my
the
question
people
is
that
on
tried
those
to
rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to
would you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You
If
would
they're
pardon
innocent,
those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. They were. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis? How come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle? How come nothing happened to them? How come the people?
But sir, we're talking about people that were seen beating officers.
We're talking about.
Look at this bullshit. Is she serious right now? Is she serious right now? Shout out to High Tolerance. He said those hyenas and jackals didn't get the memo. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Shout out to Yoshi, said, amazing what happens when you're paid off. No questions about what America needs. Facts. 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 Shout out to Daniel, said, he putting these people on in verbal chokeholds and they still question his age. Appreciate the content. Who said Trump is for the people. Trump is God-fearing. They do anything to demonize him, control the narrative, and deflect the faults of Biden's regime. Woo! Yeah.
Flagpoles, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well, they
you would
shot.
pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know people died in Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks.
So he brings up the fact that people died in Seattle, and she says, officers were injured. Officers were injured. So an injury trumps loss of life. No pun intended. An injury trumps loss of life. Right? Life is good, said President Trump offered Nancy Pelosi the National Guard 3 times and she refused. Then got drunk and admitted it was her fault. Not to mention what happened to the man in her house with her husband.
Nothing happens to those people, but you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life, but you have people from Minneapolis, you have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C., they were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them.
Look at the look on her face. Look at the look on her face. You didn't think he was going to bring that up, did you? You didn't think he was going to bring that up, did you?
And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before. And it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. And I do 2 things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up. And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car, okay? I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in, are taking your job.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great
Thank you,
honor.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
NBJ will email about details regarding the conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris in September. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Look, she didn't want to shake his hand. Look, you see the way she shook his hand? Look how everybody else shook his hand. Hold on, let's back up.
Thank you, everybody, very much.
Watch how she shakes his hand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. September, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Look, that's the look on the face. That's the look on your face when you get smoked. Look, watch. Watch when she walk away. Watch her when she walk away. Watch her when she walk away. Okay, you can leave now. Hey, she probably went back in the backstage and said, she probably sat down in the chair like, whoo, Lord have mercy. Oh my God, I almost couldn't keep it together. Oh my God, I do not like that man. Probably gonna go home and curse out her husband or boyfriend or whatever. Oh my God. Why don't they leave that man alone? Leave him alone. Do y'all remember on the movie The Wash? Trump kind of reminds me of the comedian George Wallace. Like a no-nonsense type of guy, right? So in that movie, the two dudes roll up on Mr. Washington, right? He's like, hey, and it's a light-skinned dude and a dark-skinned dude. And they said, hey, Mr. Wash, me and so-and-so here was thinking it's time you up in our pay. He said, first of all, you wasn't thinking. Second of all, when you find upping in the dictionary, that's when I'm going to up and do that. In the meantime, get back to work, asshole and asshole light. And the dude said, I told you not to come over here messing with him. Like, leave Donald Trump alone. Y'all can't handle him. You cannot handle that energy. That's why it's hilarious to me that Kamala Harris is running around talking about Donald Trump is scared to debate her. Ma'am, do you really think we believe that Donald Trump is scared to debate you? Do you really think we believe that? Like, get serious. Shout out to Zero Fallout. He said they're going to charge him with assault the way he beat her like a drum. I never seen such savagery since Genghis Khan. Oh, my God. Bruh, that was just embarrassing. They need to leave that man alone. They try to bring him up there so they could try to debate him for Kamala. Like, what? And y'all act like we didn't see Kamala get smoked. Kamala got smoked when she debated Tulsi Gabbard. I think that's her name. Tulsi? That's her name, Tulsi Gabbard. She got smoked. I'm talking about it wasn't. Why you think she couldn't even get one? Why do you think her presidential campaign was over before it started? Because of that debate. Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard. Bruh. That's why her presidential run was over before it began. Because Tulsi smoked her in that debate. Smoked her like a pack of cools. And what do we think is going to happen if somebody who didn't even get the nomination destroyed her in a debate? What do you think is going to happen when President Trump debates her? Like, let's be real. It ain't even going to be pretty. It ain't even going to be pretty, man. But anyway. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to the show. As always. Matter of fact, let's get the likes up above 1,000, man. Let's get the likes up. We're at, let me see how many we're at right now. Let's get the likes up. If you're just coming in here, hit the like button. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up above 1,000. Yo, shout out to Cutie Exec. He said they thought they were going to put him in his place. That's exactly what they thought. That's exactly what they thought. That's exactly what they thought. They thought they was going to put him in his place, and he came up there and made them look crazy. I done said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Leave that man alone. Leave that man alone. Y'all be thinking y'all going to make him look bad. Nope. Nope. But yo, I appreciate every last one of you guys for tuning into the show. Shout out to everybody that supported the show. I'm about to get up out of here. Salute to all of the contributors. Salute to the people that hit the like button. Y'all already know what it is, man. Salute to the BINO Nation. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Deuces.
Spartans! What is your profession?